Good day, Fanews readers. Today we are speaking to Edite Teixeira-Mckinnon, CEO of OSTI. The OSTI most recent OSTI report was released today, and I have to tell you that our Ombud newsletters are often the most read newsletters. I think speaking to financial advisors and brokers, they're always keen to know what not to do. So I'm sure we will have quite a lot of people listening to this video. So the report was usually a fairly social event and an event where there was some good networking, but life happened. So we have to make the best of the situation, and I'm excited to talk to you about the results. So first of all, COVID lockdown, did everything go ahead as normal as it could have been at the OSTI office?
Pretty much business as usual, and fortunately last year, at the beginning of last year, we started this exercise in 2018, which was going into the cloud, digitalizing a lot of our processes, becoming paperless, and that really took off and was implemented at the beginning of last year. So we've been in this environment for quite a while, obviously not to the extent of a lockdown, but a lot of our professional staff were already working from home from time to time. And I think what this lockdown has shown us is that everybody in the office is able to work from home. So it's a great test of any disaster recovery plan. And yeah, it's business as usual. We're able to receive calls, we're able to route calls, we're able to receive complaints, register, deal with matters, adjudicate. A lot of our adjudicators or adjudication happens via correspondence or picking up the phone and talking to the parties. So all of that we are able to continue doing, which is fantastic, a great relief for our staff and our stakeholders.
That is very good news. So we'll speak a bit later about possible claims that's as a result of COVID. But for now, a quick question. Were you as busy as always, or has it slowed down for a little while?
So it's very interesting that just before the lockdown, we were already starting to receive travel insurance complaints. And we started getting a few BI complaints or complaints from policyholders that had inquired with their broker, with their insurer, just making an inquiry as to whether I'm covered or not. And we're being given answers without any claim submissions and being told, no, you don't have cover. And then they would lodge a complaint at our office. So we saw a number of those right at the beginning of the lockdown. But then in April and May, our numbers have gone down by about 20 to 30%, which appears to coincide also with the claim submissions to insurers. I've had engagements with a number of insurers that have indicated to me that is exactly the trend of claims on their side. 2-3 months ago, a decline in the number of claims, but it's picking up. So our numbers have gone down, but we anticipate that there will be an influx of commercial complaints, especially around travel, hospitality, BI, business interruption complaints.
Okay, that's interesting, and yes, as expected. So please share some of the key numbers of the report with us. And of particular interest of me is the percentage of complaints between motor vehicle insurance, homeowners, commercial insurance, and household content insurance received. But the overall quick review would be great.
So I think the key number is, or key numbers would be the number of new complaints that came into our office. Last year compared to 2018, the number went up by around 5%, 10,367 new complaints to our office. And given our small staff complement, it definitely did have an impact on our capacity levels, where we saw slightly fewer complaints being closed, around 9,167 compared to around 9,400 in the previous year. So a drop of around 300 matters that we weren't able to finalize. And it also meant that our turnaround time increased to 117 days. And this year we were planning, of course, to address these capacity issues, but with the COVID-19 lockdown and generally the impact of the pandemic, we are being very cautious. So we've put a little bit of a hold on appointing new staff, although we will look at that very soon, given that we expect a lot of COVID-19 related complaints. Another interesting figure is the amount that we managed to recover, or the benefit that we gave to consumers who approached our office, which is around 94,900,000 rand, compared to around 84 million in the previous 2 years. So we managed to recover 7.7 million rand more for consumers. And I think the difference was in the bigger claim values that we were able to recover, especially around buildings, homeowners claims. We finalized 56% of our matters in less than 4 months. So that's a great figure. Our call center received just over 85,000 calls, and 49% of our complaints relate to motor insurance. So that continues to be a steady trend, 49% for motor insurance. The other categories, we see that 20% relate to homeowners or buildings claims. 17% relate to so-called non-claim related complaints or policy related complaints. Those are, for example, anything to do with the policy, like an insured complaining that he's given notice to his insurer to cancel his policy, his insurer hasn't, the debit orders keep coming off, or hasn't received the latest policy wording, whatever that may be. And then other types of covers are travel insurance, credit life, mobile device cover, medical and hospital gap cover. And in fact, our highest overturn rate is in that category at 34%. So in 34% of those matters, we were able to overturn the insurer's decision or some aspects of the insurer's stance or approach. Then 8% of our complaints relate to commercial insurance and 6% to contents claims. So that's in a nutshell the figures, really.
It's interesting around motor. So I think after lockdown, the motor part will be a little bit quieter, and like you say, your travel insurance amongst others will definitely increase. One of the things that I always find very interesting in your report is some of the case studies that you give there. Mm. Is there anyone that really stands out for you?
I guess for us at the office, no, because we see these a lot, but we have the one article on misrepresentation after the inception of the policy. I think there's usually a lot of focus on misrepresentation at sales point, consumers not fully disclosing their insurance history, their claims history, or even their status in terms of being sequestrated, liquidated, or criminal records. But, you know, misrepresentation can happen at any stage during the life cycle of a policy, and especially during claim stage, and the importance of always keeping your insurer updated with material changes to the risk. So that's the one. The other one is cell phone insurance and how insurers approach indemnification with regards to mobile devices, which constantly change, upgrades, values that drop. And so again, explaining the dynamic of that to the consumer who doesn't always understand and expects that if a device has been insured for 10,000 Rand, it's now 2 years old, still expecting the insurer to pay out that 10,000 Rand. So explaining that to the consumer a lot of the times. And then the other article is, of course, the one by Peter Nkuna, our Senior Assistant Ombudsman, on you think you're insured, but actually you're not. And in terms of the roadworthiness of a vehicle, mechanical failures in a vehicle, and believing that you might be insured, actually realizing when you have a claim that you are just adding to the statistics of those vehicles that are on our roads and that are uninsured. We also have an article by our interns and the role of OSTI as they see it, being new to our environment, which is always a very interesting perspective.
It is very clear that consumer education is really an issue, and I think that's something our industry needs to play a much bigger role in, because people simply either don't read their policies or don't understand what their policies are all about. So I think consumer education, and that's where the broker can play a critical role in to educate their clients.
Absolutely.
Yeah, amalgamation of the Ombudsman for long-term insurance and short-term insurance, offering a single portal for complaints from consumers. Tell us exactly how that will work.
So we last year entered into an arrangement with the long-term office, and in February we launched what we call the Insurance Ombud portal. It's an additional portal available to consumers of insurance. If they're not sure which office to approach, they can go onto that portal. There are certain questions and answer sessions there, and also so there's an option to either go into OSTI's website, and that takes them there, or to the long-term Ombud site, or to remain on that portal and to send us a quick message, and we will then communicate and get in touch with that consumer. So that is a portal in addition to the existing portals that OSTI and OLTI have. But not only is there that single port of entry, the soft amalgamation also sees us having one adjudicative head, being Judge Ron McLaren. So he stands as the adjudicative head for both OSTI and OLTI. So there's a single point of entry and a single point of exit for all complaints of an insurance nature.
It makes sense, because I assume you often get people that are confused and don't know where to go. So it makes 100% sense. Then there's some legislative changes to the way that the financial ombud schemes will work. Tell us about that.
So Chapter 14 of the Financial Sector Regulation Act governs ombud schemes, and it governs the financial ombud schemes, but that has not come into effect yet. It was due to come into effect on 1 June this year. It's been delayed a few times, but unfortunately, due to the disruptions of COVID-19 and the lockdown, we've had a further extension to its implementation, which is now 1 November. What that chapter envisages is the establishment of an Ombud Council with a Chief Ombud, and that council, we will then be reporting to that council as an ombud, a financial ombud scheme. The council will set out standards, will set out regulations on how they want to see the schemes working. We have very little insight, obviously, at the moment on that, but you know, it's there to address a lot of the issues and the concerns that National Treasury has. For example, service providers developing products that don't fall squarely within the jurisdiction of any of the 4 financial ombud schemes. So complainants having really nowhere to go in that regard. It also avoids forum shopping for consumers. We're not happy, for example, with the decision that we make and then go to the face ombud and then to the regulator. And it prevents confusion, you know, as to which scheme to approach. So it addresses a lot of issues. At the moment, we continue with our soft amalgamation with OLTI, which we believe is a move in the right direction. National Treasury had asked us to self-determine the way that we wanted to look going forward, and I think we've taken steps in the right direction. But ultimately, I believe that the vision for National Treasury is to have one single scheme under which fall the expertise of all the financial sector ombuds.
It makes complete business sense. Any final message to Fanews readers, considering they are our brokers and intermediaries? Is there anything from your side, especially in these times, that you would like to say to them?
I think, you know, this experience has taught me a lot about empathy and being sensitive. And that I talk specifically about my staff and the way we've approached them and the way we've been there to support our staff. And I think the brokers are in a very similar position. They, you know, they need to be very sensitive in these difficult times towards their policyholders, their clients, and in that way, and in empathizing with them, avoiding almost knee-jerk reactions to policyholders who may approach them. I mean, I know you've got to state the facts and say to your policyholders, you don't have the cover. But at the same time, if the policyholder persists in wanting to lodge a claim, obviously being supportive in that regard. So I think brokers play an incredibly important role generally, but especially in these difficult times. You know, we do find, and we've always said that first-time purchasers of insurance should always try and avail themselves of the advice of a broker. It can't be substituted by any direct marketer. Invaluable when it is well provided. And again, our complaints, and when one looks at the stats on insurers, we see that those direct marketers generate more complaints to our office because the consumer doesn't have a go-between actually to go and fight their matters for them. So our advice is always that the services and the service provided by a good broker is invaluable.
Thank you, Edite. That is very good advice, and I 100% agree with you. The broker market is crucial, and especially in a time where the middleman needs to explain a lot of things to clients. So thank you very much for that message, and thank you for your time this afternoon. We will be publishing the results as well as the interview on the Fanews website, and I'm sure we will get a lot of reading and eyes on it. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.